Fucking make him look more and more like he's a bad guy, but he's not. Pissing me off.
For Donald Trump, the former president, he is someone who always tries to speak up about his criticism of the judge, his criticism of the attorney general in New York, Letitia James, and so many
Suck it.
He always argues that this
Suck
is
it, you
speech.
bastard.
But whether it's the special counsel Jack Smith in Washington, who has had concerns about Trump's commentary about him, or whether it's the judge here in this civil lawsuit in New York, Trump is routinely testing the bounds of
Fuck you.
and what's legal.
Fuck you.
Costa, thank you so much with that news out of New York involving Donald Trump and that gag order. Once again, want to remind everyone we are on the air as Kevin McCarthy has been ousted as the Speaker of the House in a historic moment. This is the first time in our nation's history that this has ever happened, and I want to show everyone.
Fucking free speech is being thrown out the fucking window. That's what's going on right now.
The office
Fucking bogus.
of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
And that was Congressman Steve Womack, who there made the announcement. John Dickerson, I feel like we've covered a lot of historic moments together in the last couple of years with this splintered Republican Party, and now the House of Representatives.
What the hell?
plunged
That's
into
weird.
chaos.
A flowing title?
This one goes to 11. In other words, everything we've always rated on a scale of 1 to 10, because A, it's obviously
4,000
not
kilobits a
happening.
second,
The way
wow.
forward is completely unknown. And then what happens to the big issue at the center of this, which is this is the way in which the House does business, kind of meandering, difficult in a democracy, because that's the way it's supposed to be. It was designed that way. Can that get back on track in a party where all of those behaviors
hands are,
which
like,
necessary
dry.
to get progress, where you have a very thin margin, all of those behaviors become toxic and can get you kicked out of the job? How do you make progress? Who rebuilds that? And how does that get rebuilt? That's the big question for any kind of progress coming out of the House in the future.
That's right. With a looming government shutdown just weeks away, more business, important business to be done. California Republican Kevin McCarthy dethroned as Speaker of the House by hardline conservatives in his own
Bunch of
party.
turncoats right there.
Democrats, despite efforts
Whoever they are, they're a
by
bunch
some
of
Republicans to try to
turncoats.
get their help to try and save him. This is a developing story. We'll continue to have news on CBS News Streaming, your local news, and we will have a full wrap-up and new reporting tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Laura O'Donnell in Washington.
Yeah, sure you are in D.C. Blind sack of shit.
9 News at 5 begins with breaking news, and it is big news for the country, historic. Thank you for joining us. I'm Leslie Foster.
And I'm Longo, as you've been watching in just the
I wonder how much that costs to put that damn thing in there.
Representatives has just voted to remove Kevin McCarthy as the House Speaker.
This is a big deal. Again, the first removal of its kind in congressional history. Florida Representative Matt Gaetz led the push to oust McCarthy. This vote brought together a handful of conservative Republican critics of the Speaker who say he's unworthy of leadership, and all Democrats.
So at the end, the yeas were 216, the nays were 210. The magic number was 214. So if McCarthy wanted to win it back, he'd have to pick up 3 votes. What happens now? Republican Patrick McHenry of North Carolina is the Speaker pro tem. That means temporary. He is the person who will guide the House toward its next.
Why do they have to do it like that? Just say pro temp or temporary. Like, actually say the word, you know?
Will be the next Speaker of the House.
So as you can imagine, there is a lot of uncertainty here. This move does not bar McCarthy from running for Speaker again, but he's the first Speaker in history to be removed from power. We'll, of course, keep you updated as we learn more about this, and we've been hearing that there is the potential that Kevin McCarthy may be giving some remarks. So, of course, if that happens, we'll be sure to get that to you.
And of course, this comes at a very inopportune time. We're 43 days away from another potential government shutdown. You need leadership in government in order to get to that point, so all of the federal workers and contractors in our area do not have to go through the anxiety that we all just went through over this past weekend. So we'll keep you posted.
Blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. It doesn't affect me one bit.
In Northern Virginia, that trial is for a man from Arlington accused of a violent murder in the Falls Church area of Fairfax. Richard Montano is accused of breaking into a woman's apartment, stabbing her, setting her on fire and leaving her to die. Neighbors said they heard the victim, Sylvia Kelly Abakai, screaming for help at the time. Her loved ones remember her as a great
Neighbors
mother
should have
and
called the police.
Well, tonight, her accused killer is facing the music. Our Matthew Torres sat in on today's hearing as the trial got underway. Got to warn you here, some of the details are quite disturbing.
You can see family friends of the victim wiping away their tears as the jury looked at pictures of the bloody crime scene. Among the photos include a knife found in a cupboard with a bloodstain on it. On the stand, the lead crime scene detective said we photographed red stains that were consistent with blood in the living room and dining room area and the hallway. Prosecutors showed a flurry of photos capturing the bloody crime scene inside the Falls Church apartment where Sylvia Abakai was found. That includes the rainbow painting covering a wet and large bloodstain in the hallway, more than 5 used matches nearby, and bloody smears and splatters on the front door and adjacent wall. The detective said it was so heavy that the blood was running down.
Should have never been reserved the way she died. She suffered a lot, it seems like it.
This friend who we spoke to the day after Abakai's murder was in the courtroom as she listened to the gruesome details. Fairfax County Police accused Richard Montano of not only stabbing Abakai, but setting her body on fire. The pictures, which haven't been made publicly available, show the spots of charred and burnt carpet by the front door, to the point you see the hardwood floor underneath. Neighbors heard the victim screaming for help and called 911 about a domestic disturbance.
The person who did it is a friend of us, her. We know each other for a long time.
Police arrested Montano in Arlington, where he lived. Another detective testified he found tissue paper and clothes in Montano's bathroom with red stains and a hat that looked similar to the one in this picture. Police say a neighbor captured the image of Montano as he was running away from the apartment. Family and friends hope the trial will answer why. And you can see the jury taking plenty of notes and paying close attention, as well as Montano himself, who looks different from his mugshot, this time with longer hair slicked back. This trial is expected to be a lengthy one, possibly lasting until the end of next week into the following week. In Fairfax, I'm Matthew Torres, WUSA 9.
Now to some new developments in D.C.'s fight against crime. 3 things to know right now. The D.C. Council passed a crime bill today. It still needs approval from the mayor and Congress before becoming law. More on that in a minute. The reason why?
Oh well, don't care. I don't care about that.
Last night, a congressman was carjacked.
Could care less.
And a shooting left 3 people hurt near a popular restaurant in Southwest. All of this in a space of about an hour.
Let's get you right to those new details. In that carjacking, Texas Representative Henry Cuellar was carjacked at gunpoint last night.
Oh well.
In the yard, very near his apartment, just a mile from the U.S. Capitol. Fortunately, he wasn't hurt. A short time ago, he talked with reporters about what he remembers.
I looked at one with a gun, another with a gun, and the one behind me. So they said they wanted my car. I said, sure. You got to keep calm in those situations. And then they took off. They had masks, but you could still see that they were young. This happened less than a mile away from the Capitol. And my place, you got our leader that came there, Catherine Clark, that lives there, a whole bunch of members that live in that place. So I'll leave that up to the...
I think this was planned.
And we're told
I think this was
officers found the
planned.
vehicle about 90 minutes later.
Because of the insurance.
Carjackers. Some additional context here. D.C. police say carjackings in the city are up 108% this year compared to this time last year.
It's them probably trying to pass a crime bill or something, and he wants to reinforce it somehow.
Police took the accused shooter into custody just before noon today. We'll, of course, update you if we know any more about this.
Now, that crime bill we mentioned passed by D.C. Council.
Yep, see? That's what I'm talking about, that.
Ardelia Gonzalez is there to explain live now how the council passed this crime bill today and what happens next, Steve.
Trying to use a carjacking as a justification to pass it.
Back in July, they lasted 90 days. Were set to expire October 18th. Just about 3 hours ago, the council members here inside the Wilson building voted to extend those emergency measures while they
Freedom Plaza
on a more permanent legislation to tackle our crime crisis.
While it may be hard to believe, with a soaring murder rate at 216 and violent crime in the city of 39%, D.C. police say the emergency summer crime bills were helpful.
I feel safe in the city, but I recognize a lot of folks don't. And in my view, government has an obligation for everybody to feel safe.
While the D.C. Council works on a series of temporary bills to help fight crime, Today, they extended a package of emergency crime bills passed this summer. So here's what the bills will continue to cover. Discharging a gun will be a felony, strangulation an offense punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Judges will continue to hold adults and young people accused of violent crimes behind bars while they await trial. Chairman
No, they won't.
Peterson says, well, MPD
They'll be on bail.
600 officers. Police must work efficiently and creatively to combat crime.
What really will make a difference and have a deterrent effect is actually arresting the perpetrators. That means closing cases. Less than half of homicides are solved within 1 year, and something like 3/4 of robberies are never solved. I think that MPD and the mayor have got to get more creative about how to get more resources to reduce crime.
Again, back here live outside the Wilson Building, the council will work on a more permanent legislation later this fall. And as you had mentioned, it's a convoluted process to make a law become a bill here, a bill become a law rather here in D.C. It has to go to the mayor's office and then obviously a congressional review before it becomes law. That's why extending this emergency was so important at this point, extending it until spring. I should also mention, I tried to reach out to the mayor's office. She was not inside the Wilson Building today in her office, had no event on her public calendar. I just spoke to a spokesperson, asked if she would comment and weigh in on the crime crisis. I'm still waiting to hear back. Les?
All right, Delia, we're all waiting to hear back, and we know you'll stay on this, and you will too.
Thanks, David. Now, if we get any breaking updates on this story, of course, we'll bring them to you right away. You can also look for the latest on WUSA9.com, or you can stream us for free anytime on WUSA9 Plus.
WUSA 9 Weather Watch is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan.
I wonder what bridge that is.
And right now, let's turn it over
Or the
to
Bay Bridge, maybe?
check on our Tuesday evening forecast.
Because I know I drove over something like that thing last year.
It's just spectacular. Temperature's still upper 70s, around 80. Clear skies, and it's not going to get super cool tonight. I mean, if you're going to head out, we're looking at, temperatures generally in the 70s.
What a weird name, Top or Shut.
Maybe a few 60s. You go
Top or shit.
And then again, it's a 10 o'clock hour. Mainly 60s, except low 70s downtown. Notice it's clear. And then for tomorrow morning at the bus stop.
Hell yeah, we're getting 50s.
But really just not
I'm
that
glad.
chilly. 60s still downtown. And by 8 o'clock, temperature would go back from the 50s and 60s, mid-60s already downtown. Just a few clouds in southern Maryland, but mainly another spectacular day tomorrow. It really is. And then by 10 o'clock, everybody's back in the low 70s pretty much across the board. So if you're going out, 70 by the time we get to, say, 10, 11 o'clock, and then only low 60s after that. 50s in the burbs, and then back to 75 by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll come back. We're going to show you the American model's take on the weekend, and it's much different than the Europeans.
All right, still ahead on the news at 5. Quarterback Sam Howell is speaking out about the Commanders' close game against the Eagles. What went wrong, and what he's setting his sights on for this Thursday.
Downtown to Dinner is brought to you by Pizza Boli's. We deliver more taste.
I'll see you guys later, alright?
Pizza Boli's has the best pizza.
No, they don't.
And fresh pasta.